Over the past 200 years, the railway has helped growth in countries massively, from transporting valuable goods to transporting people to their destinations. But what is the first railway, and is it still around today? The first railways came in the mid-1820s as the Stockton and Darlington Railway, and after 200 years, the railway is still operating as the Tees Valley Line. The line is celebrating its 200-year anniversary, and to celebrate, I'll give the history of the first railway, and some bits around the area. In the early 1820s, the steam locomotive inventor George Stephenson had heard of a new scheme to use a steam locomotive to transport coal from the collieries near Shildon to the port town of Stockton. The line would be used to exploit large veins of coal and be shipped to other countries. It was planned to be pulled by horse-drawn vehicles when thought up by associate Edward Pease. Stephenson was eager to show his locomotive and engine elsewhere than a few mines and reached out. After hearing the idea, Pease was impressed by Stephenson's invention and agreed to use it. And from the 27th of September 1825, the railway opened. Although the railway officially opened in September 1825, the coal part of the railway ran more than the passengers for the most part, starting at Etherley, stopping at Shildon, Hyington and Darlington for extra goods, before heading to Stockton to finish trading. The line was 26 miles long, with trains having an average speed of a whopping 9 miles an hour. The 1827 major extension to Middlesbrough was made to further help exports. This was mostly because Stockton was running out of room for the coal and ships. Passengers were carried from the start, however mostly in coal wagons or pulled by horses. Although passenger coaches were made and were hauled along the line in 1833, coal was the main priority. The railway ran smoothly, transporting coal and an increasing number of passengers with many new extensions to Redcar, Bishop Auckland, as well as new partnerships with Newcastle and Darlington Junction Railway, Weir Valley Railway and Stockton and Hartlepool Railway. The railway continued to run smoothly until 1863, when the Stockton and Darlington Railway and many others in the area were made to NER, after several disagreements and proposals, which eventually made the Stockton and Darlington Railway a part of NER under the North Eastern Stockton and Darlington Railways Act of 1863. Under NER, lines from Durham to Bishop Auckland were made, and all services began using the SNDR station. SNDR and East Coast mainline services were passing through different Darlington stations, so in 1887 a new bank top station was made, and SNDR services were diverted to this new station. New stations along the original line were opened, including Dinsdale and Eaglescliffe, and Thornaby if heading to Middlesbrough or Redcar. Jump forward a few years, skip a world war, and we have the Railways Act of 1921. In this act, NER was absorbed into the Big Four and was now part of LNER in 1923. After a global financial crisis, another world war, and development in technology, LNER and the Big Four were nationalised into British Railways in 1948. BR controlled the lines and removed those which weren't necessary, including the Weardale services in 1953. 2 years later, the modernisation plan brought new diesel multiple units to the lines and diesel locomotives for the Little Coal and growing steel works. Over the late 50s and early 60s, lines to Barncastle and Penrith were cut, taking place in one of the most important parts of British rail history, the Beeching Cuts. In these cuts, all S&DR lines except those from Darlington to Saltburn via Stockton and Middlesbrough were closed. Services north of Bishop Auckland were closed, however due to development concerns, the line to Bishop Auckland was saved. After 30 years of using old Class 101s and 110s, BR produced a replacement, the Pacers. Alongside these buses were new Sprinter units, working along the line on an hourly service in each direction from Bishop and Saltburn. In the 1990s, privatisation hit the UK railways, and the lines from Bishop Auckland to Saltburn were handed over to Arriva. After Arriva was complicated franchise agreements which I won't get into. However, during the time of BR, there were new stations opened at Teesside Airport, closed in 2022, Allens West, South Bank, Redcar British Steel, closed in 2019, Redcar East, Longbeck and Marske. Most recently in 2025, the SNDR or Tees Valley line is celebrating its 200-year anniversary. The anniversary has brought many celebrations, mostly for the British Railways entirely, including the greatest gathering that happened in Derby. However, closer to home, other celebrations including a recreation of the first service along the line. The celebrations are well deserved that this idea came to life by horses and steam pots on rails, to a complicated network of engineering, and that is continuing today. The British Railways have came a long way, and this was the story of the first one.